Hear me if I talk.
Yeah, I hear you perfect. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, Evie Sue. Welcome to your Moon Girl and Jesse astrology reading.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, should I share? I'll share the screen. We can go in and out of this. It's our first Zoom one, isn't it?
Second Zoom one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Second. Alrighty. Well, we got the chart pulled up. You are Pisces, Moon, Aries, Sun, or Libra, Sun, Aries rising, with a lot of
Happy
eighth
early
house. Yeah, happy 9th of October. Well, coming up. Lots of stuff. So interesting. Libra, Pisces. When I see those two together, I always think of boundaries. Um, that's like the first thing that comes up for me. And North Node's in Sag. Okay, so it's interesting also that you talk a lot. You said a lot in the email about traveling and moving around and seeing different places and trying to find purpose. Because as a Sag North Node, that's really what you're here to do. Um, like I always see that axis and I think of someone who might have it in square in Jupiter. Yeah. So you're really trying to like learn about truth. So in your email when you said you think that jobs and career might be like a sham, that's a very Sagittarius North Node or Sagittarius energy type thing to say. And I kind of I agree. Like for the most part, a lot of careers are yeah, societal creations and whatnot, and not necessarily what we're supposed to follow. But yeah, so you're really meant to be going to different places, to be getting readings like this, getting meeting teachers, all that stuff, people with different worldviews, philosophical views, different cultural views, and you're meant to be continuously questioning those what truth is for you, because then your truth then moves to your profession or your dharma, your purpose. And last thing I'll say about just this is that I think one thing that you're always going to have to understand is that it's difficult for people with your sun. I think isn't Bieber a Libra Pisces moon, random celebrity?
Inverted. He's a Pisces sun, Libra moon.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, I know lots of clients who have this combo, and Pisces is energetic boundaries. Libra is physical boundaries. So it's just very important that on your path you understand that it's not going to be like everyone else's. It's not meant to be, and to not like with Pisces moon, sometimes they can allow the energy of different people, different kind of emotional, whether it's shame, guilt, different emotions that don't belong to them, kind of by osmosis, grab hold of them. So it's really, really important for you to be with the right kind of people in the right place, right situation, and to really also have like alone time is huge. And that's with Libra too. It's like the people pleasing tendency of Libra mixed with Pisces. I've seen people with that who have had lots of difficulties with kind of, and you are Aries rising, so that does help. Um, but just really, really being firm on who you are and your mission, your identity, and not allowing other people to get in the way unless they perfectly align with you.
Yeah, I agree, especially with the Cancer Mars too. Like to have Pisces moon, Cancer Mars. Also, the fact that your ascendant is in Aries, that means your fourth house, your IC, is in Cancer as well. That means your like psychological foundation, you're taking a lot of action towards that. And that means even more of an emphasis, especially with your moon in the 12th house in Pisces, and to have Mars, and because we use our Mars in everything that we do. And it's just ultra sensitive. And the sensitivity is a gift, right? Because you work with subconscious energy so often, you can tap in. A lot of people are anchored into reality. There's only so many houses and planets that are tapped into the subconscious, but uh for sure. I say that isolation from time to time is really, really good. Or just having a time where you return back like to yourself like throughout the days, or even like I would also like just be careful of anything that could alter your mood, like surrounding yourself with that, like really intense music, really bad like food or like binges or anything like that. It's just I feel like your psychological foundation and like your own inner temple, that's what the 12th house is. It's like our inner temple, like not our physical, but like that energetic. um yeah, but there's a lot of gifts with it too. Really, really strong intuition with the North Node conjunct Pallas Athena. It's like you are continuously opening up your third eye. So you're relying on what you know to be true, like not KNOW, but like GNO, like gnosis. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, super strong intuition, and that's a very, yeah, that's massive for you, is to have alone time for sure. And that's really the yeah, it really is the foundation of you, right? And I think also with Mars and Cancer, you want to have action that's related to your truest emotional being. Like what you really, and like it's difficult with people, for people who have charts like yours, because we're in a very cardboard boxed in society. And even with your Uranus in the 10th, Neptune in the 10th, you definitely, people, I've have seen so many people who have those 10th house placements, and I never ever have met one where they're not trying to do something that's helping the, in helping the collective in some way, right? And a lot of times with Uranus, there can be lots of changes, and there's a kind of it's a very unconventional, and it squares your sun, so it's very, and your moon, so it's very unconventional. Wait, hold up, it doesn't square your moon, sextiles your moon, but yeah, it's very unconventional what you're meant to do, and you'll have different things that you're meant to do at different times that are based on your continuous journey of truth. And yeah, so also what's interesting karmically is that the nodes are squaring the moon and Jupiter. So I think even with your own family of origin, a lot of times people with the moon square, there's sometimes tough karma with their family of origin, or just with their something that's like the emotional, like, because as a Pisces moon, right, the goal is to kind of have your dreams, your intuition, and to never quit dreaming. But also it can make one, it's that interplay between introversion, Pisces, and being social, Libra, right? And they quincunct each other, the sun and moon too. So they do have very different goals. And then with the North Node in Sag, that's really about adventure, activity. So it really is about as being such a sensitive soul. It's like, and I have the same struggle in my chart, just written in a different way. But it's like, how do you go explore, travel, do all this thing, all these more extrovert things, while still keeping this metaphoric home? This ability to feel grounded and to feel emotionally nurtured, and yeah, be in alone time and have a good environment, because you would be more affected by things that are off energetically than most. But then you're also meant to go and discover so much. So that's part of the challenge, right?
I like that your south node is in the third house in Gemini. The third house is naturally associated with Gemini. And then you have the north node in the ninth house. The ninth house is naturally associated with Sagittarius. So kind of lets me know in previous lifetimes that you were very, very like you have the part of the chart that like is measurable intelligence. So for example, like the systems that were like created like elementary school and like schooling, you probably did very, very well at, I'm assuming, because you have the Gemini archetype as the learner and as the student, as somebody who's very curious, somebody who's open-minded, somebody who can absorb a lot. My favorite thing about Geminis, and this is a gift that you have, especially with the 24th degree access for both of these, that means along your karmic journey, there's also this Piscean vibration that your soul has embodied that is not only a gift, but what's helpful for you to carry on and continue in that. It's all mutable energy. So your ability to ask questions, your ability to like soak in information to see the small details of where holes may be is the gift of the mutable modality. And with this, you're kind of doing it in a different way. Like you're moving away from like measurable intelligence into higher minded things, like things where there's developments, philosophies, opinions. Greater opinions are held because these are higher minded subjects. It's not just like how many apples did Johnny have at the beginning and how many apples does he have now. Like you probably did like very well in school, or it could very much be that like in school already there was this like hesitation to kind of minded topics, and exactly what you said about traveling and like life experience and learn by doing, I think is really, really beneficial for you, especially with the Pisces placement, because Pisces gift and a lot of the mutable signs gift is the like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
totally. Totally, totally. Yeah, and I think, yeah, and that's definitely with mutability, yeah, it is really go with the flow energy, right? Trial and error. And that's what you're meant to do, right? So it just yeah, there, and even with your Jupiter, in Virgo, like that is very good for not only physical health, it's close to the descendant also. So usually in terms of partners, people with Jupiter on the descendant get quite lucky with partners. And I've had lots of readings with people. Like I can think of a few clients who've had this placement where when I did their original reading, I said that and they didn't really resonate with it. But then we had like another reading years later and they resonated with more. So it's different times that will feel like it makes more sense. But generally Jupiter descendant, you can gain a lot from your partnerships. You can be very, one second. Hold on. Microphone just switched. Why is it connected to? Do you hear me, Haley?
Hear you. Yeah. You're good. You want to?
It's saying it's connected to my disconnect. Okay. Yeah. So let's go with that. Yeah. So it's just very important to know that you'll have different partners in your life at specific times that you'll be lucky with that. And I think when we talk about how important that is for someone who's a Libra with a Pisces moon, it's just very, as I've been saying, it's very easy for Pisces moons to kind of link up energetically with someone and lose themselves in that. And I think on a relational level, you know, romantic, BFF, anything really, even family stuff with a square of the moon in the nodes, it's just like you really have to look out for any type of projection. Like a lot of times with the moon square the nodes, there can be a level of people projecting. Like if it's based on your own healing and stuff, but I've seen a good amount where people can kind of project their own undealt with stuff with family onto best friends, partners, all that. So that's something that I would say also. But yeah, with Jupiter where it is, also in Virgo, that can create perfectionism, definitely. Jupiter makes everything bigger. So Virgo, as you know, it's already about, and it definitely has a lot of benefits, right? Like Jupiter and Virgo people, they want to serve others, they really want to give back, but sometimes they're too harsh on themselves, right? Like they can like see themselves as here and everyone else is here when really it's the opposite, right? So I think, yeah, really any kind of like internal self-criticism needs to be looked at. And then when you put that with the Pisces moon, it's like, is that coming from you? Like always asking yourself, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling the way I am? And that's why I say to everyone who's a Pisces moon or 12th house moon, and you both, or Neptune aspecting, it's like being able to understand where you are, like at your zero out of your zero phase, like if there's -10 and +10 and then zero, like that being kind of like your normal rate or your normal place. It's like understanding where that is, because then someone else can come in, you spend time with them, and you'll know, okay, now I'm at -4, right? Why am I at -4? And then you spend some time alone and you go back to zero. And you're like, okay, well, it's those people's energy in some way. Because sometimes it's not obvious, you know? Sometimes it's people that we don't expect, or places, or things we're doing with work, right? So it really is a journey for you to truly believe in that intuition. It's a
Mhm.
big thing.
Yeah, the journey to like embracing the more beyond the physical like part, and like non-logical, non like more moving into like higher minded things. I would also say with Jupiter at 29 degrees, that checks in with even more so what you're trying to explore and expand here. The thing is that like not a lot of people, like I don't think, always like reach their north node. I think like people get peaks of it, and the whole point is to like balance it. But with the Jupiter at 29 degrees, this means that Jupiter is your soul planet, because whatever planet is at the highest degree is the most developed. It's in the most developed consciousness of Virgo, which is Venus, right? Serving and being of service, and their detail orientation, like offering practical, loving advice. Like, this is something that I feel like as a parent, like you could naturally feel like you want to do stuff for humanity. I mean, you have a lot of placements that point to that, like you being somebody who just wants to help, you know? Um, but then also with Jupiter conjunct your descendant, a little bit about that. So like you are extremely wise when it comes to other people and like dealing with other people and like relationships. I would also say that somebody who would work good for you long term would be somebody who holds a lot of wisdom, someone very Jupiterian. um Virgo placements, I feel like you can learn a lot from like other Virgo placements, because your part of fortune's in Virgo too. um you have vertex conjunct descendant, Jupiter conjunct descendant. So I think it's very important to, when you wanted to know about like your relationship path, that you're, and especially with Pluto conjunct Venus in your life, you mentioned having one soulmate and that was something real for you. And then everybody else after that was kind of like, meh. um, that could definitely be seen with like the Jupiter and Virgo. Like Jupiter is very, very discerning and very particular. And I will say in relationships, somebody can have a lot of great qualities that you like, but if they lack a Libra archetype within them, it would be very hard to be committed long term to that person. So, for example, the ascendant is what we consciously default to, right? It's that mask, it's our best foot forward. The descendant is what we're subconsciously attracted to. And that's the balance, right? Of like self versus others. So, somebody who is peaceful, somebody who is harmonious, somebody who likes companionship, somebody who is can compromise, somebody who what's another Libra thing? Like tries to do the right thing, like is very understanding, somebody who can like mirror energy, and somebody who can not really mm, like they're also intellectually stimulating. It's like without these qualities, it would be very hard to picture life with somebody longer term. And then I would also say on top of that with Jupiter, somebody, if somebody didn't want to like consciously expand, become better, experience more, want to improve themselves, or teach you things, you could really like people who teach you things too. I say it would be very hard to not have those. So I would definitely prioritize like Libra oriented people or Jupiter oriented people. That's a big sign that you're going to enter a connection with somebody that you would find really, really fulfilling. And that also checks in with your like North Node and Sag, like somebody who also helps you on the path of expansion.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I also think, so I think, yeah, with romance, it's always very interesting because I think that, also there's like, the Venus with Pluto and Scorpio and Moon in Pisces, Mars in Cancer, right? You have all, you have a grand trine with Moon, Mars, and Venus. So it's like in water. So you have a water grain trine, water houses. So you'll have like a very natural healing ability, very gifted when it comes to healing people. It's just about, figuring out exactly what form of that is. But I think also in your relationships, you'll have a very healing energy on people. And um I think so what I was saying with romance is that it is very, so everything Haley was just saying, but then also I think you'll need to have that water aspect down also, right? So it's like having someone who can, yeah, teach you, where you feel that balance with them, fairness, yeah, all that. And then also where this kind of emotional, hard to put into words undercurrent feels solid, right? Because anyone that has a bunch of negativity, even if it's like very hidden, you're going to pick up on it. But then also on the other side, right? It's like you're going to pick up on anything positive too, right? And it's not, we can create energetic boundaries, but when we're like living with someone, we're with someone all the time, eventually, you start to take from them, right? Is no matter how good your emotional boundaries are. So yeah, I think that also eighth house is about secrets. It's about it's very deep. It's a Scorpio house. So to have the Scorpio Venus there, I feel like sometimes people with that, they can have, especially Pluto and Venus, there can be like dramatic, there can be some real dramas in love, but it is really a deep kind of soulmate, twin flame, whatever you want to call it, type energy, especially with Jupiter and Vertex on the descendant, and then Venus and Pluto together. It's pretty clear that you are someone who will have very deep, very karmic relationships that start at specific times for specific purposes. And, that depends on your belief. If you think, some people think that we have relationships that have start dates and end dates. I would say that some of that's true, but there's probably some variability in terms of, free will and how, like your decisions and stuff. But I think when I see these types of placements, I always believe that this there's a lot of fate ruling you and your relationships, and that yeah, you're definitely meant to learn a lot from them, and just having that third eye awareness of how someone is on a energetic, no words level, like how you feel when your energies are together. Is it secure? Is it is there something off, but then everything on the surface seems good? So stuff like that, I think, is important.
Yeah, I actually was looking at like a couple of things. I think your chart has a very good mix of everything, I would say. Sometimes I see charts like this where like it's really obvious that the person has like one specific aspect of life that is really, really big, or like a few. But for example, your Black Moon Lilith is at 29 degrees. That's independence, that's sovereignty, that's in relation to women, and that's like our humanitarianism, right? It's And then you also have Saturn in the 11th house of friends, of humanity, right? And so, but then you also have this spiritual journey where you're like leaning away from more logic into like higher minded, right? And then you also have this grand water trine, which makes you very emotional at the same time. You have Aries ascendant at the first degree. So all of your houses, like in areas of life, feel good in where they're at. You have this big emphasis on career, yet you also have a pretty big emphasis on like home as well, like your own psychological foundation. There's a good mix between the masculine and feminine energy here. And then with Jupiter conjunct ascendant, it's like you're learning a lot through other people. Like Sun in the seventh house. So I have a Sun in the seventh house. I have Mercury, it switches from the seventh to eighth, kind of like you. But when you're a sun in the seventh house, especially with like your water energy, it's when we come to earth, I feel like we learn through other people. And sometimes I feel like people don't always understand that because a lot of the houses have to deal with individual subjects, right? Second house is values, fifth house is own pleasure, sixth house is service. But the seventh house really means that like you learn who you are through other people. And sometimes it represents open enemies. So sometimes people don't like what they see in the mirror. So if somebody kind of comes in with hot energy at a party and like you come back with a little bit of hot energy and they don't like that for some reason, then you're like, what the heck? Like I was just mirroring the energy you were giving me, but then you learn about yourself, right? And that's those like physical boundaries that Jesse was talking about, you know? But it's like any one-on-one connection. And then with Pluto conjunct Venus, it's like your heart space will go through transformation. I bet that like the values that you had at like 16 are really different than the values you had at like 23, really different than the values you had, like so on and so forth. But yeah, it's like at the end of the day with Vesta in the eighth house, Vesta is what our soul deems most sacred. And like you do value like intimacy, you value depth. The eighth house is the emotionally deepest house. You also value power, right? So there's gonna be like power themes in love. Your Chiron is squaring your Venus in the eighth house. Venus in the eighth house is like transforming around values and like taking into account one's own power through alchemizing pain into power. And that not eliminates the shadow, but makes you comfortable with it. Like, I think some things is like you with Black Moon Lilith at 29 degrees, a couple of things that I'm seeing with Chiron and Leo, it's like, I think you're finding happiness through like integrating a lot of like shadow. And that's also part of, I think, that healing journey that Jesse said, like you're meant to be a healer in some way, shape, or form. I think it's very much that like common phrase, or it's like when we heal like everything around us. And it kind of checks out because you're just here to experience things, you know, and trust your own intuition.
Yeah, definitely. And also, so yeah, with like the whole Aries Libra, there's this battle between self and other, right? So yeah, with your sun in the seventh house, you're definitely here. Yeah, like Haley said, to learn a lot from relationships and from those experiences. And I think that there's the need to balance out self and other, and how much one values their independence and their them as a pioneer, their Aries energy, the self, and then compromise in relationships, right? So it's like having that good balance between those two. So that's one thing. But yeah, I think what I was looking at, with Venus conjunct Pluto, I think that the creative potential is massive, and I think that you unlock a lot of your own healing through creativity, and that's with the Chiron and Leo. That there can be pain around, like it's really good for you to have. And I know you said painting, um, really good to have things like that allow you to get into the inner child energy. That's Leo Chiron is very much about being able to just be goofy and just not judge yourself, and to be able to lose track of time by just going and doing something where you completely lose the sense of time and lose everything related to logical thinking based on that. And of course, as a Pisces moon, that just gives you an amazing and like just such an inspired mind and ability to really really tune into different dimensions and take. So it's I think a big thing for you is, yeah, it's figuring out how, because sometimes the eighth house, it can hide a lot. It can, so sometimes I see artists with eighth house Venuses that don't really, the world doesn't necessarily know about it, right? And it doesn't, so it doesn't change from the fact that that stuff is so important for you. And yeah, you like the more that you can just create, do things. And I think that's also why being around people who are able to be themselves and fully able to be there in their inner child and not feel like they're trying to be someone they're not, that's very very healing for you. um yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to tap into career a little bit because I know that you mentioned it. So, um, Jesse, would I be able to pull up my
Yeah,
chart?
how to? Do I have to make you the host?
Let me see. Host disabled participant screen sharing.
If I go make host. Okay, now you should be able to do it.
I am the host now. Okay. Uh, all right. I typed in a lot of love ones, but I wanted to type in some career ones because I was looking at your Capricorn Midhaven, and I know that you talked about like what am I talented at? What's like career options? Let's see. One more. We'll work with whole sign since that's Jesse's vibe. It's my
Yeah.
vibe too. I switch.
Yeah, I like to. She's like a 12-degree rising, so.
Yeah.
Wait, I have her as 1 degree. What's happened?
514.
Yeah, mine says 5/14, 9th October 1992. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, why would it?
All of this is correct. It's just
Oh,
the right.
it says sidereal time 1854. I don't understand.
Maybe it's just difference between the programs.
Yeah. Well, either way, it doesn't change. She's still Aries rising, so it's not going to change any house placements. Only
Yeah,
like only the vertex and yeah.
in part of fortune. But even hmm, that's interesting. Has this happened to you before?
Um, a little, yeah. Like when I mean I use my program, but I've seen differences, like small ones.
Yeah. I mean, really, yeah. The only thing that it changes is like the degree of things, but I just wanted to really focus on the asteroids in the midhaven. We'll go with Jesse's original chart because I feel like it was meant to be that his chart. We always use his chart system for all of our readings.
And
So,
I sent her the photo of it. I was like, "Is this correct?" And she said yes.
oh, okay,
So,
perfect. Perfect. So, okay, first thing I wanted to mention is the fact that your talent asteroid is conjunct exactly on your south node. So you are somebody who's very multi-talented, and with it in Gemini, I would say like talents relate, and in the third house, like talents related to the written word, the spoken word, and hands, because Gemini rules over the hands. So if there's anything that comes to mind with those things, um, that you already are involved in. I think you said you play or you paint, so that's using your hands, like instruments, like uh, engineering. Like Geminis are really, really good at anything that really.
she's a massage therapist and cranial sacral therapist. So it's right on.
Oh, there we go. It checks. Your abundance asteroid is also in the third house. So I feel like anything related to third house topics. I mean, you can even like look it up, third house topics, that gives you everything that you could possibly find. But basically the third house is the written word, the spoken word, publishing, learning, right? So anything that you do learn to do, I feel like you will gain abundance from it. And especially if you master it, you have it making a trine to your Saturn. So I do feel like it could, whatever you get abundance from can help you humanity. Um, Jesse, did you want to talk a little bit about like midhaven conjunct? I know her midhaven in your chart is conjunct her like Pallas Athena, but like midhaven in Capricorn or like
Yeah,
what
I mean, it's just like, yeah, you're meant to be doing something that is has like a spiritual component, um, has like a very unique, like you might go through like lots of different changes, especially with, your Saturn return, Saturn 11th. It could be that has a tendency to make it less obvious for the first 30 years what someone's meant to do, and they can kind of really start to truly understand it post Saturn return. But yeah, with the Uranus Neptune stuff, it's really about like every like I think there's so many people who have that those conjunct 10th house around the midheaven 10th house, and it's always the same thing. It's not the same thing. It's just always some variation of like they're not just doing the rat race. They really have like a unique approach to career, their ideas of career, and they understand that they want to make it. They want to make a very unique contribution that is Uranus has a very individualized um, impact, right? So it's like really, really about how you find yourself, how you discover who you are, and then how you stamp that onto your dharma and what you're trying to do.
100%. Um, I would say the same thing about the Neptune conjunct Uranus. There's a lot of people who have this placement. That's definitely a good um, explanation for it, especially so the Industria asteroid is an asteroid that shows us what industry we can find the most amount of success in. This is exactly conjunct Neptune. So themes of like, I mean, Neptune is anything beyond the physical. So like Reiki healing, like sound bowl healing, like music, like Neptune things. It's unconditional love, it's generosity, it's healing, it's a higher octave of love. So something to consider. Also, Capricorn in Neptune natives can keep like one foot on solid ground, like have a practical plan while also allowing them to dream of more success. It's actually really cool generational placement. But you also have the entrepreneurship asteroid in Leo conjunct your Chiron in Leo. So an entrepreneur in healing. Um, it also can point to you having a creative dharma. So the fact that you don't like just what you alluded to with the current paradigms about career and what society expects of us from a career. Obviously, Jesse and I both like resonate with that on some level. We're astrologers, you know, like we met each other, like thank God, because it could be like a lonely path, at least for me. Like I didn't really meet anybody. And I know what it's like to kind of like want to do something so spiritual or like so different or like so not 9 to 5 like and to have hesitations around it, but I would definitely say like go for it. Like once you do find that one thing, again, it could really involve the written word, the spoken word, healing, sound, hands, like it's really going to depend on what catches your interest, but I can definitely say that healing will be a part of it. And it's going to give you more life. Like you're going to be really good with people. It's making a sextile to your Libra sign, so you can definitely use that. Sun and seventh house people are really good at business. It's
Mm.
also part of the benefit. It's just not always about marriage. Seventh house is business. It's real estate. It's law. It's contracts. It's big stuff. And yeah, it also aligns, makes a trine with your Aries ascendant. So you're utilizing both of these, and I think your career could really be a bridge to like, especially like a creative career, having a creative dharma where you use your creativity. And you use healing, it's going to allow you to bring out that part of yourself that's independent, that takes charge. You have a cardinal access for your entire chart. Um, and with Capricorn, you're meant to just go after it. You have what it takes, discipline wise, willpower wise, to be able to produce tangible results. And I think the biggest thing with Neptune is just knowing, like, remember to see your masculine energy like clearly. Like you have a sun, um, trine Saturn. Like you are really, really hardworking. You can make anything work for you. So I think it's just keeping something like with you, like Saturn in retrograde individuals. The biggest thing is like they're learning to like stay disciplined and like keep that there, like to remain consistent. And that's really the trick when you have like a cardinal midhaven that's earth, is like you want to just go and start things, and sometimes that could be the shadow of cardinal, is like not finishing. But with Capricorn, the best way for you to approach your purpose and career is to go after it like unapologetically, see what you're capable of, do it because you're a genius also in your masculine energy, but it's to gonna be to remain consistent. um because we have to think of a more linear approach when we approach our career with Capricorn. Like every day, I will do something that makes results. And then eventually you will get there. And it will really be healing for your inner child too, just for you to be yourself and to be doing something that feels authentic to you.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also on that having Sun square Uranus is very much people with that. Sometimes they don't find their purpose until later in life, sometimes midlife. It's very unique, very rebellious from the status quo. And as Libra, which, Libra, one of the shadows of Libra is that sometimes it can want to, I guess, belong like too much sometimes. Like I've seen that with Libra, not all the time, obviously, but it's really like you're not, because they want everything to be balanced. So sometimes they want people's opinions of them to be balanced too, which they can't control. But with the square Uranus, it's like you're not meant to do something traditional. You're meant to break tradition. It could even be in your own family, your own society or community, whatever it is, right? Um, so I have seen that a good amount with Sun square Uranus is just people who, like, I've had readings of people who are older with that, and there is, especially since Uranus is in the 10th house, there is a lot of movement from this. Like it's very like it makes you kind of know instinctually, okay, this is what I'm supposed to. This doesn't feel right. Like you said with your current work that you like it, but you don't feel like it's necessarily the thing. So it's really about following that because intuitively you're tapped in, and you have this feeling that there's something else for you, right? And you're willing to go follow that North Node in Sagittarius to different countries, whatever it takes. But if you actually zoom out and think of like the ordinary person, a lot of people are just happy with less, I guess, or with what is. Um, they don't feel like they have this big destiny around creativity, around exploration. So yeah, I just think that there's lots of fate for you in that realm, and that you just need to follow it and just try lots of different things. And then also with Sun and Neptune squaring too, that you just have to, and being a Pisces moon, it's like almost like there's a lot of Neptune energy, and it's just really what the way I see that is that when people try to follow the societal conditioning of what you're supposed to do when they have a Pisces moon and their Sun's in Pisces, or it's squaring Neptune, they can really lose their identity, and they can feel like they're just walking around in circles. So I believe that your mission, your purpose, which will be linked to helping people in some way or linked to your creativity, it'll be linked to something of depth, and that's going to help you understand yourself better. That's how it is with Neptune. It's that it's things don't feel real unless they're helping other people, or unless they're making you feel that oneness. And when you feel that oneness, then you're able to, it just, things start to make more sense. It's almost like God peels away the confusion or defogs the Neptunian confusion, and things just make sense because you get like the karmic rewards from that. But yeah, I think that there's people with charts like that, especially South Node and Gemini, and I think of that as energy of past lives where it's wearing Jupiter also, where your understanding of the truth, you didn't explore enough. So the fact that you're wanting to travel, you're wanting to leave where you're at, Australia, that's huge because Gemini South Node, I just think of someone who kind of stays put in a certain environment and they don't go deep enough, and they can kind of like go, the shadow can be like going from this, going to this, going to this, going to this, and not getting deep into anything really, just scratching the surface on a lot, the jack of all trades, master of none. So yeah, you're really here to be a master, and in that refine your purpose and why you're doing things. So it really is a quest for truth and for purpose for you, and it's not linear. It's not, and there's no ending. It's the journey, not the destination. So yeah.
That was beautiful. That was a really good interpretation, especially about Neptune. I really liked what you said. Um, yeah, Sun square Neptune. I'm a Sun opposing Neptune, and I definitely feel like the higher minded topics of life, things beyond the physical, like have to be incorporated in order for us to feel like vitalized, in order for us to feel like a sense of fullness and self, is like love, generosity, spirituality, like helping, like the oneness, like an elevated heart space, like things like money, things like they couldn't, I'm not saying that like it's not something that's important to you, but like you could have like non-traditional values in that way, like like the things that other people yearn for, like like he was talking about just having like that normal job and just like getting like a nice car and just like having a nice house and like living, kind of like the traditional aspects. I would say, yeah, of course there's like goals, we want to reach like financial status and we want to have financial results, but again, like what's going to make you feel like you, like a strong sense of self, really is like those deeper subjects in life, the things that aren't tangible. So um I wanted to move into some of the love stuff because I know that um you wanted to get into the love asteroids a little bit specifically, you asked, and that's my jam. And then there's like some transits you wanted to look at. So uh oh, so all right. So as far as your chart and like what works for you, so Juno, so we mentioned the descendant. So some things we already mentioned. We mentioned like having somebody having Libra qualities. And that's also how you approach all your connections with people, is probably in a very harmonious way, in a reflective way, in a like cooperative sense. Like you'd be willing to compromise, like depending on like, because you know that every individual is different, everyone has different needs. It's part of your ability, like you're really good with people. It's also an eighth house thing too. It's like seeing through people, and like 12th house thing, like being very empathetic universally. Um, so we have the Libra energy, but we also mentioned with water, for sure, somebody who has water could definitely be somebody that is what's good for you, like long term, is what's going to make you feel satisfied. Um, and then maybe somebody with like Jupiterian placements, Sagittarius placements, they're going to activate your North Node. The synastry is going to fall into your ninth house. Those are people who help you pursue your purpose, and the relationship has a spiritual aspect to it. Like, yes, there's chemistry, yes, there's lessons and all this stuff, but there is this like absolute like expansion in terms of like your own growth. And um, the next thing is Juno. So Juno represents like what energy we feel like we are willing to commit to, like put a ring on it, sign a contract, like I could do this long term. um and it also represents like your marriage potential, and that's why right. Here is the queen, right? She wants her king. It's like the emperor and the empress energy in tarot almost. She represents fertility and a lot of things, but your Juno is in Cancer. It's in the fourth house. So yeah, somebody who's emotionally intelligent, somebody who like is accepting of just the emotional part of life, understands how hard life is, because Cancer also likes Jupiter energy. So this also lines up with somebody being Jupiterian, somebody who, you can, they can share their past and their past experiences, and like it inspires you, like somebody who's like imaginative, somebody who, I mean, Cancer also is very nurturing. That's a number one thing too. It's like, somebody who understands that in a partnership, you need consistent nurturing, not that they take care of you all the time, but they show and they nurture things. It's a consistent effort. Um, and you can feel that they want to be in the relationship because they want to be, right? From a genuine place of authentic feeling. Um, Already, and with your Juno, you have oh Mika.
You got
Um
into the food. Bad
oh
cat.
no. Oh no.
Bad
Mika's
Mika.
his firstborn girl. um I see that you have the agape asteroid trine your Juno. So like unconditional love is something that your soul has already mastered in a previous lifetime when it does come to relationships that you have. So I feel like you can access unconditional love in your relationships, and you have it trine your Mercury. So you also are a very good communicator in relationships. That's your gift. Like that's something that you're good at in relationships, right? But you have a lot of Libra placements. You have like a universal moon sign that would probably understand a lot of other people. So this makes sense. It's reflected in other parts of your chart. And then we have sextile, the destiny asteroid. Sextile destiny is also agape nor. So I feel like a big part of your destiny involves actually your career, but it also represents hello, hello. Oh my goodness, so much cat content. Um, yeah, I think like your career, your purpose is something that's kind of like predestined for you to explore. Unconditional love, and also like the some of the soul contracts that you have, if not most of them, have like a very like destined feel to them. And I feel like some relationships can be like more free will, some can be more destined oriented. So, but yeah, so that's Juno. And then I didn't know if you're into women or men. I always like regret not asking people, but basically, personality wise, for both. For men, personality wise, there's an asteroid, a love asteroid that me and a lot of other Tumblr astrology girls use, and it's called Night. And it essentially is a male archetype for our ideal type personality wise. And so we have Aquarius, which would I think tap into more like it could mean like from an masculine energy, you like somebody who allows you to be your authentic self. Freedom could be a big thing too.
Space.
Space. We have an Aquarius king right here. Somebody like Jesse, he's very interdependent. He's really, really good at that. It's an Aquarius thing. He's an Aquarius Mars, Aquarius Venus conjunct. So he's very passionate, but like also wants to be able to have each people like evolve on their own. There's a lot of like freedom, right? It's like loving somebody so much in a way where they feel free.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and then women wise, um, you have it in Scorpio. So for women, your ideal type personality wise, and I've actually seen this even if like it's not like romantic, like um Venusia in Scorpio can indicate that you personality wise like women who are emotionally deep, who are emotionally intelligent, who are deep individuals, who are discerning, who are strong, who are resilient by nature. So that is the love asteroids for you. This is what I have. So yeah.
Yeah, it's super interesting because like everything in astrology, you know, we all have so many different parts within us that as you're seeing, there's never going to be like this sign is good for you. You could date someone who hits one part of your chart, but then doesn't hit another part. You know what I mean? So it really is about, and that's I've seen Juno play like it just I don't know. I just for some reason I've always had a connection to the name because my dog was named Juno, and I just when I started astrology, I always instantly went towards Juno for some reason, and it's worked very well. I've seen such a correlation, even like with dating. Like I've seen a ton of people who, or not dating, I guess like more serious than dating partners who have the partner like me. My partner, my girlfriend's a Scorpio, my Juno's in Scorpio. Like I've seen so many people who have even with sun signs, their Juno, so like your Juno's in Cancer. So it's like yeah, like Cancer energy could be good. But yeah, there's not one sign that you can't work with. You can work with anyone, right? But I think that's just one of the observations I made from my experience, from a client's experience, is that like for example, I had one client where she had just switched, like she was married, she had just switched to a new boyfriend, and the charts were so different, but it was so interesting how the first dude was hitting one part of her chart that was more related to like Taurus, to safety and stuff like that. And then because she had a big split in her chart, the second dude was just way out there, like very saggy, very Aquarius, Sag, that kind of energy. I don't remember exactly, but the point was just interesting to see because as us as humans have so many different parts, it's hard to meet someone that hits all of those. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, and then there's also the part like, for example, because you don't have any personal planets in air, you have your South Node in air. So when I see that, I always think, okay, this person's probably beat the mission of air, you know, in past lives. And it's like if you've done if you've like killed it in the air game, like you're not gonna need to have air placements in this lifetime. It's your South Node, right? Then they're done that. So yeah, it's very mysterious. Like sometimes people will who don't have a certain element, right? Air, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, they'll meet someone who kind of fills in. Actually, you have air. What am I talking about? You have Libra. Oh my God. Okay, delete, 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 delete. Um, yeah, but you have your South Node there, so there always is like a level of like been there, done that with air energy. But yeah, I think the most important thing is having someone that's very deep, who's very event, you know, it could be someone from a different country, honestly. Jupiter and North Node, you know, in Sag, Jupiter on the ascendant, like you never know. It could be someone you meet traveling, someone who's from a completely different background to yours, but you still feel this real energy, you know, like at the end, like it's the thing, the energy that you can't put into words. It just makes sense, even if you come from two different worlds, two different places, two different situations. Because as a Sag placements in general, and we're both Sag moons, um, we like to learn from people. Like we get kind of Sag energy gets kind of bored when it's so predictable, or like when it's like kind of, and maybe that's my Aquarius, but I think that's it's both in different ways, right? The Aquarius, and you have the Uranus square your sun, so that gives you like a Uranian feel where you want to be different, you want to find your individual self. You just kind of have to go through some, you know, over some hurdles to find what that is. Especially, you know, if there's anything with your family of origin, it's also, you know, with the square of the moon and the nodes. It's really about getting past any self-limiting beliefs that might run in your family, right? But yeah, I think that I don't know. It's just interesting. What is this? We have a messenger. Let's see what she has to say. Let me see. Let me try the Esme astrology thing with this cat with Ina. Look at the chart. Tell me what I need to look at. Okay, she doesn't know how. Only Esme knows how. My other cat.
Where's Esme?
She's right there. Should I get her? Esme is like a special cat for astrology for everything, but
The
she's
special
that
god.
she has her own Instagram at EZME cat astrology. She actually does this. Say hi, Esme.
Hi, honey. I love you.
Wait, this thing's covering your face. Esme, say hi. Say hi.
Hi, Esme.
Okay, this is a little bit different of a chart than we're used to looking at. It's just a different program, okay? But you're gonna look at the planet that I'm supposed to focus on, like always. Oh, she's all fidgety. Go, Esme. Look. She
Esme.
stared. She stared at white moon. It's black moon Lilith at 29 degrees. She stared at it.
Hmm.
That's
Okay.
more in Aquarius. Interesting. She's always right. It freaks me out. Like she's done some crazy things before for my reason. Esme, get your tail out of the incense. Esme. But yeah, so I think with love, it's useful to have that framework because with the water, you're gonna you need to feel really energetically Pisces moon, energetically safe, and with everything Haley was saying around the Aquarius energy, like you can really be your own self and not be judged for it. Um, when I talk to Pisces moon, sometimes I feel like it's like little things, and I'm a Pisces, so I get it. It's like little things that we're very, very sensitive to Pisces placements that other people might not necessarily like. It might not make sense. I'm trying to think of an example. I didn't have any good ones that came in my head, just snoring. Um, Maybe like little small kinks, right? Little small things that you notice that no one else does. It's these little this collection of very small factors that might not matter at all to someone else, but to you, it's like really about figuring out what they are and really just being able to navigate from that inner knowing, right? Like what works for you. And it's not going to be like the ordinary, you know, it's not, it's going to be different, but very magical. And I think you're very blessed. You should thank your past life. I was gonna say thank God, but you should be very grateful. I mean, I would be very grateful if I had Jupiter on the descendant, because um you just get like people with that just get like they don't have to worry. You know, everyone wants to have love and all that shit, but like Jupiter, yeah. And one thing also I want to just go back to that Haley said earlier, which is very true about the South Node North Node. It's true that yeah, like the North Node is not supposed to feel easy, right? So you're not supposed to feel like the whole, and it's cool to read your email and to see that you're doing a lot of these North Node and Sagittarius things. You want to explore New York, London. You're willing to just say fuck it and just go, because that's what you're supposed to do. And I feel you didn't mention anything about your family besides that you're going to live with them. I feel like you like getting away from Australia will be huge for you. Um, I think that for, like they say that Jupiterians get lucky when they take healthy risks, not too big of risks, right? Not like or not crazy risks, which I thought about mine. I was like, yeah, I've had some too big risks, but yeah, when you take healthy risks, it's good. And I think that that's one thing you're here to do in all areas of life, but always remembering that you're a sensitive soul and you'll know things others don't about certain people, about certain situations, about your life path, about life path, like what you said about career. It's true. And it's crazy to think that a lot of people can't even notice that until they're already too far in, right? We all have people in our lives that, you know, I mean, most people are like that, right? So it really is about that inner compass and individuation. So yeah, and I think spirituality is one area that can be outstanding for that. One of many.
Yeah. So I would be down to, I like kind of looked up everything I wanted to on my program, but did you want to pull back up your program, Jesse, and then look at some transit stuff?
Sure. You just have to make me the host. You click on my name, like the three, like next to my video, the three dots, I think, should show up. It should say make host.
I don't know. Next to your name. I feel like there's not three dots next to your name.
Like the top right, close to like if you hover your mouse over it, there should be it should say mute, and then there should be three dots, a button of three dots that you can click,
Oh.
like in the top right corner. But it only shows up when you hover your mouse over it. Does it not
Mm,
show?
no, I don't know. Do I have to make you the host now?
Yeah, that's the only way I can share.
Okay. Is there another way to wait? So can you explain it one more time? Maybe I'm just
Just like
missing it.
hover your mouse over my face, like the camera, like my screen, and then there should be in the top right corner of my little camera thing, there should be a mute button and three dots that appear, or something like that. We might have a different version of Zoom.
Oh. Oh, okay, okay. Um, so yeah, if I have the mute button, for the video.
These rings underneath my eye, is just the bad lighting. Jesus, two bad nights of sleep.
I don't know. Maybe I think maybe we might have like a different version of Zoom because I just don't see what you're talking about. But I mean, I could look up transits on mine. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like,
We're gonna I think we're gonna have to switch it back for me to download it by the end, anyways. But wait, maybe if you share your screen, or wait, no, that doesn't work. Nothing pops up, because I think if I hit when I hit end video, I think I have to be host. I'm pretty sure for the recording to come to me.
what wouldn't you? I think you already are host because when I see my little picture, I have three buttons next to my name, but then you just don't have anything.
Click the buttons and see if there's something, an option that's like change host.
Yeah, no, it's like nothing, nothing like that. You might already be host. Try sharing your screen.
Host disabled. Yeah, I'm not host.
Hmm. Oh, maybe try.
Nope.
Hmm. I'm tripping.
See, let me look something up.
Do you want to pause it and then?
See if I can.
I don't know how I did that. Okay, whatever.
All right, we did it. All right.
We have found it.
So we found it. All right. So let's see. I can go to trans in a little. I just wanna. She has Eris opposite Sun. I feel like that's kind of like a similar theme of self versus other. Do you have any ideas about Eris and Sun? I know that it definitely can create it's just that need for balance, I think. And I feel like it just my take on it is that it would accentuate that Aries Libra archetype more and just make the person really want to express themselves and really want to have like a lot of like a big destiny related to you finding your own way. So I think that that's also an important thing, finding that harmony between self and other. I think it just kind of further accentuates what I was saying before. Um,
Yeah, I would say so. Like Eris is a warrior goddess and Pallas Athena is a warrior goddess. Eris is in your first house and Pallas Athena is on your north node. So the first house, esoterically too, is the house of like new beginnings for the soul. So love you.
so,
Um it's the house of new beginnings for the soul. So anything within the first house is what we deem like part of our core identity, and we absolutely identify with this energy. So you could identify as being somebody who is resilient, who is very strong, who feels things very deeply, very passionately. It's part of your sensitivity. But there's also Pallas Athena on the north node. With Pallas Athena on the north node, this also means that it's very soul fulfilling for you to embody somebody who has learned from their past and their wisdom, and somebody who knows how to take strategic action forward. Um, I think strategicness in general is something that is part of your highest self, like to be very, very strategic. And I think that's really blending in that South Node in Gemini of being very logical and your water grand trine of being very intuitive. Um, like, for example, in the Barbie movie, I don't know if you watched it, but there was like a scene where like everyone in Barbie world, like all the high up positions are filled by women, like every single one of them. So like I don't know, they're construction workers to like the president are like women. And one thing that they mentioned, and Margot Robbie is a huge 12th house native. She's like super 12th house. And one thing that they mentioned is that like just about women and like the female archetype, which for you to have a goddess um asteroid on your north node and a goddess asteroid in your first house and your black moon Lilith at 29 degrees, I think a big part of embracing like the feminine archetype is like feeling what's right, honoring like the feelings and like the long-term consequences of like what how people will feel about it, and then also using intuition like 100%. And that's like the strategic part of war, right? Like you can like build as many bombs as you want, but if you can escape or kind of like have the upper hand, and like be able to tune into like, okay, what's really going to upset somebody, right? That's like a part of war. Like, how are we really going to just like destroy them, or how do we get success? How do we have get the most amount of people happy? Like incorporating those themes is like owl wisdom, is third eye wisdom, is being able to unite like what is both logical and what is also emotional. That actually makes a person very like androgynous by nature too. Pallas Athena is a woman, but she was born from Zeus's forehead in full armor. Like she wasn't like a goddess that's like Aphrodite. She was a goddess that was like more androgynous by nature. So that could be something that like is incorporated, like could be like just like overall like incorporating intuition with strategy. Um, yeah, not just doing what's illogical, but doing what is going to have the predicted outcome based off of like taking in every like situation, looking at all sides, and like that takes empathy, and that takes having emotional intelligence too. So
Yeah, definitely. I think also, yeah, another thing with the moon square the nodes is that it's also on that theme of male identifying with male and female, and there can be potentially feeling a gender switch in recent lifetimes. So yeah, it really is about, and even like air, Libra, masculine air, and then feminine Pisces. Yeah, just really being able to balance those two out. And I think a lot, Esme, what are you saying? I thought she was telling me something. But yeah, there's a lot around like the unconscious influences that present themselves in your life. And I think that a lot of times with Moon and Pisces, Moon square nodes, yeah, it is really about understanding how the unconscious influences play into your self identity, how they play into your overall emotional feeling about what you're doing. As in, I can't move my hands without her like looking at my hands to pet her, so I'm just gonna hold her. Um, so yeah, everything like for me keeps going back to just understanding that there's going to be tests to that. There's going to be people that come along, whether it's, oh my God, Esme, stop, let me concentrate. Whether it's partners, whether or like romantic or business partners, best friends, there's going to be tests that really, really you have to always like understand, okay, I'm headed in this direction. Not everyone's going to resonate with it, and really have those boundaries very, very defined. Even if you don't exactly know what it is you're doing, that's part of it, right? But having that compass in terms of the emotional unconscious stuff, and then also, okay, I might not be able to write down in an essay format exactly what I'm doing, where I'm going, why I'm going there, all that stuff logically, but still having that compass to know, okay, this feels right, this doesn't feel right. And so yeah, that's one thing. Another interesting thing, your Mercury is unaspected in Scorpio. So I feel like you're definitely a truth seeker, and it's interesting because with that whole grand trine also, sometimes people who have a lot of water, they don't really like the surface level stuff that much. But then Libra energy is very good at being able to navigate both worlds, right? But I think that there's a certain level of depth that you'll need in every area of life. But yeah, with the Mercury and Scorpio, really wanting to go to discover the underworld, to discover the things that aren't talked about. The research, really like being able to dive deep into something and just get obsessed with it. I think that's one of the superpowers of that placement, because there's especially no hard aspects. It's like your Mercury, your mind, your communication, you're able to just go so deep, right? So anything that you find, like even, yeah, like something like astrology or something, like anything that requires, there's a lot of research and there's a lot of depth, there's a lot of secrets, there's a lot of magic. I think that if you put your mind to something, you're able to just go all the way, and go to areas that most people can't go. And that's very good for intelligence too, to have your Mercury in that position. Also, sometimes on aspect of Mercury's So it is in Scorpio, so that is better. Like if it was in, I know some people who have it in Gemini, who it's like they have no filter. Like they just say things. So obviously Scorpio, it's more cognizant of what it's doing, what it's saying, what it's thinking, all that. But yeah, I just think that there's not really any checks and balances. So with any unaspected Mercury, I always think it's good to really be conscious of what is being said and what's being taken in, you know, to the brain and mind and all the lessons. So
Yeah, it's true. Like Scorpio Mercuries are, especially in the eighth house, like you have that good combination because Scorpio Mercury reminds me a lot of Virgo Mercury. Like to me, they're very, very similar in terms of analytical abilities. Like I feel like you have a very analytical brain, very, very good discernment. And the discernment comes from also kind of like Virgo energy. Virgo rules over the stomach, which they're coming out that the our gut is like our second brain. Uh, Mercury in Scorpio gives you that ability to kind of be like a human lie detector and kind of like, okay, these are what people's weaknesses is, these are what people's strengths are, and you kind of get to do with that as you will. A lot of times Scorpio will again be very strategic with what they reveal,
yeah,
what they don't. It's not uncommon for Scorpio Mercuries. I feel like Scorpio Mercuries actually are the best at like directing conversations away from them.
yeah,
You
they
know,
are very. It's a kind of like the palace, right? It's like very tactical.
yeah. No, and I think with the Mercury in the eighth house too, like as somebody who's Mercury in the eighth house, sometimes, I mean, this is just kind of random, but sometimes I can have like really dark thoughts. Like, and I feel like sometimes they're at like the worst times or like really like, because the eighth house rules over all things taboo, like things people don't want to talk about, like power, sex, sexuality, intimacy, all of those things, the light subjects. But those are the things that we tend to think about. We kind of get always pulled into this, like wanting to think about things deeper and wanting to find like the depth and the hidden meaning and like transform it and alchemize it and like gain power from it, like reflecting on things that have happened so that we can become more powerful, or just like power dynamics or like seeing through things. Really, really big gifts, and not just with your eighth house Mercury, but your eighth house stellium, especially with Vesta there. It's like your soul deems most sacred depth, like period. I feel like in a big way. But then of course with it in Scorpio, you do have that hint of like analytical, logical discernment that's really, really, really strong.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I'm an eighth house Mercury too, so I didn't really think about that. It's true. It's like really wanting to push the mind, yeah, into being willing to go to the places that a lot of people are afraid of going. So you might notice that with your, yeah, with friends and just with people in general, that for some reason people aren't willing to go as deep as you, you know? And um it really, yeah, it's really about just finding the right people at the end of the day with eighth house Mercury. And it can be very, very interesting because it makes you like a natural psychologist, but just someone who's really interested in like why people are the way they are, why the world is the way it is. um and that sometimes makes us go into very dark places, and it's like an investigator, right? Detective per se. So yeah, it's interesting. And then the way that it's in water with so many other plants in water, I just think that just having the knowledge that you are going to be a lot deeper than most people, and to have that framework, because I was saying with the Jupiter and Virgo, sometimes the Virgo can prevent people from seeing their greatness, but if they're too perfectionist. So yeah, just having that understanding, I think, is very, very healing. But yeah, I was curious, Haley, what the 29 Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius, what's your thoughts on that? 11th house, 29 degrees Aquarius. Wow.
I mean, I love 29-degree placements. It's basically in this lifetime, your soul being like, okay, this is it. We're not messing around. This is happening in this lifetime. And it's a long time coming. So these planets, we feel excited about them. There's definitely karmic nuances with 29-degree placements. I've seen it play out in so many different ways. Like 29-degree suns will be called to be like huge public speakers and just be like stars. And like people with 29-degree Venuses, like they seem to be in these relationships that like are just, it's clear as day that like this person is learning like and mastering lessons around love. Like they're good at it, but there's like these things that we're just like refining, and that really is like a final test, right? Like a black belt test. So we have Jupiter on 29 degrees, which is all about higher wisdom, teaching, expansion, travel, higher minded topics. And then we have Black Moon Lilith, which Black Moon Lilith, there's like three real archetypes of Black Moon Lilith. There's the witch, right? Magic, witchcraft, sorcery. Magic has existed since the dawn of time. Like literally gathering around a fire is magic. So just being in tune with that aspect of yourself and accepting yourself in that. There's a lot of demonization around Lilith. There's a lot of demonization of the coin term witches. So it's like just honoring that part of like magic and like owning that. It's a very dark feminine aspect. Another part of Black Moon Lilith is our raw, untamed sexual nature. What makes women so powerful? What also makes men powerful, but women do exude physically that archetype. And a lot of women who are in their power, they are fierce. They have they can have like authority over their own bodies. They have authority over their own life. They have authority over what they allow in, what they deal with. Like they refuse to be oppressed and suppressed. And the third and final part of Black Moon Lilith is just pure sovereignty. Um, of course, it's a sign of being like it could be like being like a feminist. I don't like that word, but like whatever word that you want to replace it with, like being an advocate for women, like moms, grandmothers, daughters, children, like other men's like dark feminine archetypes. Like if you look up light feminine versus dark feminine, it really is like Lilith versus Eve, like in the Bible. Like Lilith like knew she was equal to Adam, and Adam wanted to like kind of like have a power over Lilith. So Lilith literally would rather never live in the Garden of Eden. She exiled herself into the void. And it's because she wanted to be equal. She knew there was equal. So for you to have it in Aquarius, that's a air sign communication. I feel like you stand up for other people. Like you very well could have been with the Pisces moon in the 12th house. One thing about 12th house placements is this is selfless service to humanity. And then the 11th house is like, well, I'll get into that, but like basically with your moon and Pisces in the 12th house, you are definitely that person. I feel like at a party, you can look at the entire room and not really like get so into just what you're doing. Like you can tell the person in the corner who's new that doesn't really have that many friends, and you could be the person to be like, hey, do you want to come over here and sit? Or like the person that says like, oh, I'm fine, but they're not really fine. Like with a Black Moon Lilith that powerful, you now have somebody who is going to do something about it to stop people from feeling oppressed or exiled or pariahed or different. You like will help them embrace it, if anything, like not take them away from their true self, but help them embrace their true self. And with the Black Moon Lilith in the 11th house is the house of evolvement. So there's this aspect that you're wanting to like really complete and like stand in your power. So there could be things in your life. Um, I'm not going to say it's like going to be strictly authority. It could be other women, actually. It could be things that test like your dark feminine for you to step up, have a voice, have authority, display your sexual nature, to not feel bad about it at all. With your 8th house stellium, I bet that like you cultivating power is something that's sexual. Our sexuality is right there to spirituality. People who are very sexual, very spiritual, very powerful. So I feel like you can inspire humanity in this way to kind of be different. Like, and yeah, with Aquarius, I think you just have natural revelations throughout your lifetime around like, yeah, I don't want to be oppressed. I don't want to like live in a world where people have to suppress that aspect of themselves, because everyone does have a Black Moon Lilith, you know. It's one of the most suppressed, it's probably the most suppressed energy in current society. But yeah, I could go on all day, so I'll let Jesse go back in. But yeah.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because look, she has asteroid Lilith with Jupiter, and then dark moon with moon. So
Hmm.
it's like all the Liliths are activated. So that archetype actually could be really, really big with her. Because with dark, what would you say with dark moon? What's it called? Dark moon Wallamat?
Yeah, like Waldemoth Lilith.
Right on the
Dark.
moon.
Yeah, so that archetype of Lilith is the shadow, like the biggest shadow part of our feminine energy. So, like Waldemoth Lilith can look like us at our worst. So, us at our absolute worst. It's a really good shadow work asteroid. And essentially, with it in the 12th house, it right next to the moon, like I would say, like you at your worst, we all have a Waldemoth Lilith too. Um, mine's in Cancer, but yeah, based or I think mine's in Virgo, so mine could be like having a sharp tongue, right? It's like with Pisces, we could have somebody that's just like, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah,
I'd rather just escape. Like the same,
escapist.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like the darker side, right? So it's like I think that if you think of the dark side, the potential dark side of with if you connect it with your South Node, right? Like the dark side of Pisces mixed with like the potential South Node and Gemini downside is someone who might be afraid to yeah to really like they can have all the dreams, all the ideas, but then the actual follow through, especially with Sun square Neptune. Sorry, I have cat hair all over my face now because of this cat. She's guilty, licking
Mhm.
herself, like sticking to me. But yeah, I think that it's very, very important to like I keep saying it, but just really to understand that Pisces energy, like I've met people who are the most just creative and in like they have like yeah, they have all the ideas. It's like the person who has like this perfect idea for a movie, and they have everything planned like in their head. It just makes so much sense, but because of something in themselves, they don't feel it's like if you look at the opposite side of Pisces, which is the polarity point, the healing, it's Virgo. So it is about the step-by-step process. You have your Jupiter there, so that really helps you. But understanding that for every dream, for every big creative Pisces or eighth house dream, there's a step-by-step human earth process that it takes to get there. And sometimes people that who have like the Pisces like that, I've seen that they can almost fear like they can start and then little things can kind of push them off their track, and then it's like it's hard for them to keep. So it's really about self-belief and keeping that self-belief going. Yeah. So I think and then yeah, with Gemini, like I said earlier, it can be South Node Gemini, it can be kind of starting this and starting that, but never, yeah, like kind of having some fear of going like too deep. So I think that's karmically why you have all this water, because this lifetime you're really meant to go deep and to really create something out of it. So yeah. Also, she has Psyche on her sun. That's interesting. Sun in Libra.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess like so with Lilith the Astra, I think that just yeah, it's just really, really about yeah, you said feminism. I don't know if there's a better way, a better metaphor for it, right? Like the female who's not down to back down, the female who in the very, male dominant outer external world, patriarchal world society, who wants to, who's strong, strong-willed and doesn't back down. So yeah, it's really everything Haley was talking about. But what do you think of Psyche and the Sun, Libra? It's like very much about love language, and I think it goes back to my take would be like it definitely relates. I think yeah, definitely there's probably like a lot of knowledge of how people work and how like you'd be a great couples therapist, but that's just like an example. That's something that would come naturally. It's not like I'm saying do that. I'm just saying that how people relate to each other. Like I would imagine that when a friend of yours goes through a breakup, they go to you or has like a tough emotional time, especially as a Libra, which is about balancing, right? Um, you're probably, especially with your grand trine water, you're probably so gifted at understanding the unconscious factors at play with people in all kinds of different areas of life.
Yeah. Exactly what I was thinking. I actually really just looked into Psyche's mythology not that long ago. And Psyche and uh, Eros, Cupid, had like a love story. And basically, Psyche, there was so much of her like mythology. Since it's so close to your sun, that means that your main goddess archetype has a lot to do with Psyche. You have a very strong signature of Psyche. You also have a very, very strong Black Moon Lilith signature. Um, and these are both fighters. I mean, you also have Pallas Athena on your rising and you have Eris in your first house. I just see you as somebody who's a fighter, somebody who makes a way out of no way. Like if there's somebody tells you no, or somebody says like, oh no, you can't, because that's what happened with Psyche. She essentially wanted to win back Eros from Aphrodite. That was Aphrodite's son. And Psyche was actually known as the most beautiful goddess, even after Aphrodite. People started leaving Aphrodite's temple to go to um, serenade Psyche, and Psyche never gave up. She believed in true love. This is something that's kind of showing with like Libra and like your Libra sun, Jupiter on Vertex, just learning a lot about love, Pluto on Venus, like love is a very powerful thing. I mean, there's that there, but I think more than anything, it's this archetype of not giving up. Like I said, making a way out of no way. Somebody says no or that you can't have that, it doesn't mean it just has to be like career or like helping other people. It can also be like just if you're somebody who believes in true love, like fight for that. You know, there's no shame in that. That's like very, very similar theme to having Psyche on the sun. And it also makes you look young for a really long time. Psyche, um, I mean, she was absolutely gorgeous and she remained gorgeous for forever. It's part of like her mythology, and the story behind it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting the young part because I've never seen with the sun, but I know with Moon and Venus. Like I know a girl astrologer who's like 40 something, and she literally looks like she's 20. And then she was like, "Yeah, it's because I have Psyche on my I forget which one it was." And she was saying it's Moon and Venus, but I mean it could definitely make sense on the sun too, right? Because that's the identity of who you are. So yeah, yeah, youthful energy and yeah, blessed with looking good for a long time. But yeah, I think kind of what I was getting, and my food's here, so I have to sit around. But um yeah, I think that with the 11th house Saturn too, like kind of going back to more friends, community, mission, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Saturn 11th house people can take them a while to allow someone in, and especially with all that water. Um, I've seen a lot of Saturn 11th house people who they make more of their true soul friends post Saturn return. But even at any time, like before that, or just even throughout life, they're not just gonna let people in like easy, easy, easy. And I think, with Black Widow, there too, another way of looking at it is just how, Aquarius rules friends. So I think that there can be potential issues around friends and the right friends. And, going back to the whole thing about boundaries, I think that it just makes that even more important. And yeah, just how friendships can be, yeah, just there could maybe early on, or who knows, like there could just be little issues with friendships and meeting the right people who don't take advantage or don't kind of use that very empathetic, watery nature, especially with the Libra, that Libra doesn't like to disappoint people, right? So for anyone with Libra Pisces, I'm always going to just emphasize just the scare the shit out of me. Just the importance of having the right types of people. I'll be right back, Haley. Take it over for a
Okay.
second.
Yeah. Mm, let's see. Also with Chiron in Leo, I will say that especially with having so much water within your chart, I would say that people with Chiron and Leo can sometimes be afraid of like being their true authentic self. People with water and eighth house placements are really, really multi-layered individuals. Really, really deep, very multi-layered. Those layers are built from experience. Those layers are created. There's depths and there's things that have occurred in your life that have allowed for you to have a lot of experience. And even from a young age, like being somebody who is multifaceted in the sense where like you have big emotions and right, you are deep and you're wanting to explore that and embody that and embrace your power. Probably from a young age, it's like with Chiron and Leo, sometimes there could be like parents that want their child to like be a certain way or like act in a certain light, or there could be like the pressure for that. And so yeah, I mean, inner child healing is really, really big. We could all use more of it, but I mean, it just depends on where Chiron is, but Chiron's usually like generational too. So there could have been like either your mom or your dad who felt like they had to play like a role and basically do the exact thing, like opposite of what Leo energy is, which is accepting yourself wholly and truly and fully aw, at every stage. So just a little bit about the Chiron, and then yeah, Chiron. Uh, we also have like Saturn. So like Saturn represents like what energy we're wanting to linearly embody. So your soul came to linearly embody Aquarius energy, which we're releasing like shadow around that energy and we're embracing the like high vibe of that energy. So a shadow of Aquarius is like changing one's mind, like not being able to like make up one's mind. Like it can be thinking too logically, like being really detached, like not operating from the heart space, ignoring feelings, just like kind of like chaotic.
Aloof.
Yeah, aloof. And then the high vibe of Aquarius is like being connected to everybody, like accepting everybody as they are, like even if that means like we have to agree to disagree. Um, and also somebody who is like with the fixed modality, somebody who is like reliable, loyal, like that's shown in like friendships, that's shown in like what they believe in. And yeah, like it could be like take a little bit of patience in terms of like reaching your goals and aspirations, because the 11th house is our goals and aspirations. It's not just like measurable results like money, it's like the fulfillment of our dreams. So if you felt like it's taken a while for the fulfillment of your dreams to appear, this was something because your soul wanted to be extra patient with yourself in this area, like karmically.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think, yeah, like at the end of the day, you'll find yourself in service. Like you'll find yourself through service. Part of Fortune 6, Virgo, your flow state, kind of what works for you is when not only you're being of service to others, but you're being of service to yourself, like your routine, what you put in your body, how you heal, how you like sleep, all these little things that go into your overall. I always refer to it as shit, what word do I use? But it's like your energy, it's like I can't even think of the term I came up with on my own, but it's like your how you like energetic responsibility. Like for example, really weird random example, it's like if I drink a coffee, a super strong coffee right now, I'm going to be very anxious later. And it's like kind of handling your energy on a day by day, moment by moment basis with responsibility, not self-sabotaging. Um, And I think when you're doing that with Jupiter there, it's definitely giving lots of luck, lots of wherever Jupiter is by a house, that house has a lot of benefits and it there's a lot of good fortune there. So I think that just from a health astrology perspective, sixth house Jupiter is amazing. And it usually lends itself to someone, even sixth house is pets too, so you could get a lot out of pets. um they can like help teach you about life. Cats are the best in my opinion. Dogs and cats. Come here, cat. Don't smell my food. Get away from there.
Yeah, like spirit guides as your pets.
Yeah. Like you can probably, and as a Pisces moon, you can probably read this cat's thoughts right now. You might have skills around animals. Um, and yeah, I think that Virgo is a great sign. It's the only thing is that it just has to, yeah, it has to understand, it has to see itself clearly in a clear, not comparison to others. It has to be able to distinguish. And that's one thing astrology and different studies like this help so much with, because then we stop comparing ourselves to other people. You know, it's like you understand who you are and then you understand who you're not. And that can be super helpful. But yeah, I think that with any part of fortune, Virgo sixth house energy, there is a big joy that comes from being of service. And then with all the rest of the things in your chart, it makes everything make more sense. So I think that from what you said, you've really started to you're on the right path for sure. And you're just trying to figure out exactly what it is. And I think even your decisions around moving around, like it's not about it's not even about what transits or anything. It's about what is your and we'll look at that. Even we don't usually do it, but we'll take a look just to see. But like regardless of anything we say, it doesn't matter because you know intuitively what you're supposed to do. You know, like you can just feel into the energy of New York, London, wherever, you know, and there'll be a voice inside your head that you have to understand that there's the intuitive voice that feels right. Like you can just meditate on a place, on the name of a place, you know, and you'll have some ideas, but it's really, but then the logical mind might come in and be like, oh, it doesn't make sense for these reasons. But if you can dream, and that's the thing about Pisces energy too, is that you need to be able to dream. If you feel like you can't dream with people around you or the situation you're in, the work you're in, whatever, that's when Pisces gets depressed. And with that South Node square to Jupiter, that's happened in past lives. You've had past lives like where you've been too surface level, not your fault, because of the society situation you're in. You had people around you, people, places, things, whatever, that pushed you away from a pure understanding of the truth. So if you think of it zoomed out, the fact that you're even looking into astrology, the fact that you're have already started healing, that just shows, like, imagine yourself in a past life where you were completely off track with that stuff. And I think that can give you a lot of, sometimes it's really hard for us to be able to look at how far we've come and have perspective and be like, wow, fuck, like I've done a bunch, like holy shit, you know, because we go from one really good thing and to another, and we move on. It's not always good, right? But then it's very easy for us to lose track of how good it is, the things we've done. So I think it's important to have that perspective. Um, but yeah, just like I do that with myself sometimes too, is like I think of like, wow, like I look at challenges, like challenges that I face. I say to myself, like, imagine in a past life that I can't remember that I had this exact same challenge. Maybe it presented itself in a different way, but energetically it was the same, and I failed. And now that's like how I like to look at challenges. Like now I'm redoing the same thing, especially if it's hard. You can imagine that's karmic, and this time I'm gonna not fail, right? So it's a really good way of not getting too down on yourself and not being too hard on yourself, because what might be hard for you or what might be easy for someone else might be really hard for you, but what might be easy for you might be super hard from someone else. We all have different struggles and different things that are hard for us for different reasons. So
I mean, that was a really, really great breakdown. Like I loved about Jupiter too. Jupiter, I think you said Jupiter squared the south node, right? I think you said.
yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing, right? Because like through Jesse, I learned, the squares can represent like these like like skip steps, and it's like retrogrades are kind of similar. And I saw the retrograde in Saturn, so it's like having the authority over like your own self, like your own hopes and wishes, like evolvement. And then with the 29-degree Jupiter, I feel like this is a long time coming. It's like just this is the lifetime to do the different thing and to feel confident in that. And yeah, exactly what Jesse said too. It's like transits are really helpful. They can give you clarity in times when you feel lost, like what is going on and kind of define what's going on. But as far as like what's going to happen in the future, astrology is really like little portals of opportunity. It really depends on like your own free will. I know that like it sucks to hear that, but it's like it'll show like what themes and what areas are going to be highlighting so we can like confirm that for you. But yeah, like knowing your soul's chart, seeing what's aspecting, seeing what's going to play out, like transits only trigger these aspects of the birth chart. So yeah, it's important to look at. If you get guidance even just from your birth chart, and then you get to like feel really confident in your free will and like make decisions, like that's the best. But yeah, I think we can dive into the transits now.
Definitely. Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I think that's part of it too, is like the Jupiter's in Virgo. So it's like there can be a potential for just making sure you're not overanalyzing things. Like it's good to be analytical, right? But there's always that range of when you're not analytical enough, like finding that good balance. And that's Pisces and Virgo, right? Like that's what that like Virgo is analytical, Pisces is no rules. So it's really finding that balance that you have. Um, and yeah, just continuing to try to move towards a new truth, a new understanding of why you're here, of what you're doing, where you came from, all the big questions, knowing that you're never gonna be, you're always going to be evolving in your understanding of it, and that there is no, yeah, destination is just, it's just like a, it's just something that's it's something with the mind that isn't, based on reality, and it's just meant to be. Yeah, it's really, I think that's part of the test for you, is to move towards adventure and to move towards new beginnings and new potentials with that intuitive feeling like, okay, I'm going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, last thing before I put on the transits, she has Fortuna on her Venus, exact same degree.
Good luck in love. There's this really general theme of just good luck in love. So I feel like if you feel like there's been a lot of like relationships or like connections that you're like, but I don't feel like I got my one true love, or like something like that, like something that like Disney sells, it's more so that like I think you're blessing the lives of a lot of other people that you interact with. And then like that could result in like a few really, really, really great partners that could result in you like I would even say like with your Jupiter return, like I would expect some crazy things to have happened like throughout your life around like your Jupiter return. So like around 23, 24, around like 35, 36, around like 47, 48, like you just meeting people that completely like change your life. Or there's like this like up leveling of like new people coming in, or like union, right? Like marriage or like a child or something. But yeah, it could be business people too that you meet. But yeah, like Fortuna is like anything connected to Fortuna is where we're meant to receive the most amount of good fortune. So I mean that's the heart space, but that's also around women, that's also around beauty. Those were other themes that came up in your chart too.
Yeah, is that, can that be like luck is a artist, or like good fortune is like an artist, for is like a job potentially?
What like good luck with anything related to Venus. So yeah, arts, Venus really is that like uh it's art that you can like that you could see, that you can touch. So painting would do that. Neptune is more like the art that like music, not physical.
Yeah, inspiration, yeah, like the imagination that takes to create the thing. Um, Also, okay, so I'm pretty sure, because there is a long email that you sent, and we were both looking for it forever. Like we only found, like I swear there's all I remember is there's something that said asteroid destined. I remember that was emphasized. I just can't, and I couldn't find, I don't know what happened to it. I could not, and maybe I'm tripping. I'm pretty sure that was for her. That's the only, like, yeah, we looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. Haley couldn't find it. Um, so that's annoying. But I'm pretty sure. Did you talk about Destin? Because it seemed to be something that was big for her.
I talked about the Destin sextile Juno. So, and
Okay.
there was a aspect for Destin. So your Destin did involve love. So it makes sense with Fortuna. It was connected to unconditional love. So unconditional love, like it's definitely not for like the weak. I mean, when we think about unconditional love, we think about breakups and like if somebody yells at us, we don't do that back. We think about friendships and we think about like realizing humanity and then we like allow people grace, we give people grace. But then we also experience unconditional love. Like we could experience connections that like people like you could have pushed people past their own love limitations where they're like they maybe not have said this but they say like I wouldn't normally do this but I'm doing it for you. Like that's agape nor like that's the type of love that's like okay, like even if it wasn't my picture perfect love, it was the unconditional love that they knew how to give. So I feel like this is something that you're giving to a lot of people. Unconditional love, I mean, it's like freedom. It's not jealous. It's patient. It's kind. So this exchange is something that I feel like you're destined to experience. But then your destined asteroid specifically was in the sixth house of service. It was in the sixth house of being of service. So I feel like also the sixth house esoterically is the practice makes perfect house. So with Saturn the 11th, I feel like it's almost like you feel like you have a destiny, like even on the smallest of scales, since you were small, like go after that. Like destiny itself to be of service. Yeah.
Interesting, interesting. And something just came in my brain and left one came into one ear or one part of the brain and left the other. Let's see if it can
Inside of
come
your
back.
phone.
Yeah,
Oh, thank
let's see if it comes back. What was I looking at? Sorry, daydreaming or not daydreaming, just left my brain.
Pisces, Mercury, things.
Yeah. Shit. Well, well. Oh yeah. Wait. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just and one other thing too, with just the Plutonian eighth house, like the eighth house, it is really like this battle about ego versus soul, purely put. And eighth house Pluto, that's its native house, and it's just really about people who have that. They tend to have this deep confrontation with their unconscious and with the darker sides of themselves and their who they are, and they're really having to choose between real self-empowerment, which is finding the power within, versus surface level fake self-empowerment, which is rejecting that and trying to find it externally. So yeah, it is definitely this balance between the known and the unknown, between the discovered and the undiscovered, and between what the ego wants and what the soul needs, and really going towards the latter. So, all right. So how should I do this? Should I pop out? Oh, I can just,
Yeah. So she wrote transits, just like confirming like anything around home and then transits for traveling 2025. So could look at like what's going on right now and like confirm and then go to 2025 and look at the transit for traveling.
yeah. So you have Neptune leaving your moon, or it was on your moon for years. I had it square my moon. So yeah, and that's always right now the moon's in Pisces, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're probably leaving at least on the emotional level. Let me see, 19, no, because I would know because I have my moon in the same place. But yeah, you're probably leaving a time of real. It's probably feeling now more like enlightenment, understanding your purpose more, but it could have been quite confusing too. Neptune tends to have that effect where it definitely can push away a lot in our lives and kind of make us it's like it has this magical way of removing all the BS from our lives. Not even BS, just like it can really push us into isolation, which as a Pisces moon, it would have been easier for you because Neptune. But that's what I thought. I have it on my sun now, and it's fucking crazy. But um, yeah, just like really, really stripping away of different ways you are, so that you can really just confront yourself fully and become a deeper, more spiritual, more purposeful version of yourself. So I think that's just about pretty much over at this point. And yeah, so that's one I would definitely see. And let me just so with 16, I'll just say what they are. So one beautiful.
Jesse, I'm gonna use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Okay, okay, okay. So so Saturn isn't messing around. It's trining your Mercury, so that could be a great time for planning anything right now, anything related to the mind. Really good for like studying and learning, good retention skills, organization of anything mental. As we get away from my food. Stop, stop, stop. And okay, so Uranus is here. So 22, 14, 22 fixed. All right. So interesting. Uranus has just finished opposing, well, for the most part, has finished opposing your Venus. Um, but Jupiter will be opposing, that's not like a bad one. Um, can actually be like probably one of the only as transits that's like, you do have to watch out for over indulgence, but Jupiter and Venus together, it's hard to have a bad aspect. But yeah, with Venus and Uranus opposition, it's just there would have been themes of like really needing to have space in relationships and finding your unconventional, what you value, and just it's a more rebellious time, especially in love. So it's difficult for people with Uranus aspecting Venus to have hard aspecting Venus to have relationships like that where there needs to be a level of space in them. So a lot of people prefer to be single during those times, and if they're not, they just need more space and more ability to be themselves. So if they're in really constrained relationships, it can be difficult. And
Can I
yeah, so
also say
that's
something about that?
what's that?
Can I also say something about that?
Yeah, yeah.
It's also like revelations when it comes to love too.
Mm. Yes, like thunderbolts of like, oh, that makes sense. And
Right.
things move fast. So she's ended a lot of these big ones. But then your Chiron is opposing your sun. So that's a big one. And that's still going. I literally have had Chiron on my sun. That was crazy. And I know people, clients and stuff who've had the opposition, and it's just like it can just bring up lots of pain. And I think with the Neptune, it can really be a time of a real humbling. It could have been like recently a real humbling time, but it seems like a lot of these tougher transits are kind of moving away because it has passed your sun. It's your sun's 16, Chiron's at 18 now. But yeah, Chiron's it shows us our wounds, but then it shows us how to be great healers. And by healing our own wounds, we're then able to grow and to find our own hidden talents, usually with respect to healing in some way. It could be art, it could be lots of, kind of karmic talents. If we're willing, it's kind of like if we're willing to go in and do the inner work on ourselves, then we get rewarded with finding, things like that.
Yeah. Um, is Vesta on her IC? Am I thinking that right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So whenever Vesta is transiting over something, It represents what area of life we are finding ourselves the most dedicated to naturally. So that, and that's also the part of our life that our soul's wanting to involve ourselves in to keep our spirit alive. So it's really important to look at Vesta for that. So your home life and your home situation, like whatever you feel like is going to fulfill you, like light your soul on fire, it's coming up right now. Like the themes of that. Um, yeah, I thought I just mentioned that because you mentioned a lot of things about home. So that would be probably why. And it's not only just like where you live, but it's like how we feel most home within ourselves because it's our psychological foundation, right? So you can run to the most beautiful island ever. You could go back to your childhood home, but if you still feel empty inside, like how comforted are you really going to be? So, I mean, as a Cancer sun, like I really, really resonate with this. Like I need to feel like at home somewhere. Like if emotionally I'm not good, I have to leave. I have to go and retreat and do everything that I can to feel like at home within myself again, even with Sagittarius placements. So
Same.
that could be something that's coming up. You said same.
Definitely, definitely. Um, so super interesting. You're literally at like one of the craziest times, or in about uh
You're
12
looking at
wait.
Neptune.
No, she has a progressed full moon coming up. So that's like a huge point in your life. It happens like a few times in our lifetime. You'll have your progressed moon in Taurus, which will oppose your progressed sun in Scorpio. That's like the biggest time. Like that's like so right now you're really feeling this building. It's like a full moon in your life, right? We feel in full moons. We're in a full moon right now, right? Our full moon's Friday. So in real life. So it's like it's this for the next year or so because you're 14, it's 12 degrees per year around. So yeah, it'll be like a little bit over a year. Um, probably at 18 Scorpio, I believe so. You'll have this progressed full moon. So pretty much like everything that you've been building is coming to fruition now. So um it can be a time that can feel more tense, like more pressure, but just really trusting the process and looking back on the last 14 years or so and just understanding what you've built and just knowing that lots of karmic things will come to fruition, and also your progressed ascendant will go into Taurus soon also. So you'll you'll feel more, you'll feel quite balanced, like the progressed ascendant will be the progressed moon. So yeah, there'll be more of a probably leaning towards home, but now it's at 29 degrees. So lots of movement, lots of action right now, and very karmic in terms of what you do and kind of getting the best squeeze while you still can. Not that you're not going to have any action or any fire in you, like it's still your natal ascendant. It's just that it'll become more laid back.
Beautiful. You know, I'm not used to this program, so I didn't even know that that middle chart was a progress chart. But
Yeah.
um,
Progressions, transits. Sometimes the solar arc is the third one, but I just pulled these ones.
yeah, no, it's really really cool. Like your progressed Pluto is really close to your sun, but also kind of like it aligns with like the Chiron opposing sun. Like I have um like Chiron square my sun natally, and I also have like a transit with like Pluto opposing my sun, and I really feel like there's a lot of like healing, yes, right, but there's also a lot of power. It's coming up. It's coming up. I mean, things around the psychological foundation, your full moon coming up. Um, I feel like you're on a good path. Like you went through like a lot of like those like deeper transits, like Jesse said. So, um, did you want to look up Jessie for transit for traveling in 2025? That was something she was like interested in.
Yeah, this is March 2025. I'll just do, I don't know, let's just do this the 6th month, or let's just do May 28th. Doesn't really matter. It's probably summer. Actually, I have no idea. We'll just do that. It won't change much. But all right. So yeah, interesting. You'll have, so Saturn will have just Saturn and Neptune will just move into Aries, the big big time, and you'll have it on your ascendant. So yeah, I mean that's Neptune continuing to hit important planets for you. Um, I think that Neptune and Saturn meeting on your ascendant, you'll really feel the collective energy because that's like a big part of what's gonna be happening collectively. But you'll just want to move more spiritually. But then Saturn on the ascendant can be a little bit. It can sometimes create holdups to our desire to move forward. It can, as an Aries rising, you want to just go, go, go. Saturn can create some restrictions around that. Sometimes stuff with health, it's not, I'm not saying anything bad's going to happen. You just have to really watch the emotional and physical body and the interrelation between them. And yeah, that's kind of one thing. And then also Uranus will be on your progressed moon. So that's just like you really, even with your progressed moon in Taurus, you're really going to start to feel like you want big change and that you want probably to move. Honestly, this is very, and that could even be for 2024. Like Uranus on or wait. Yeah, no, this is perfect. It's really for 2025, even the start of it. Really, really feeling like you want to move. Uranus and Moon, that means moving. So I would be surprised if you didn't move. I know you're already pretty much planning it, but yeah, and then also Jupiter on the South Node, so unveiling of karmic past life gifts, lots of or potentially like meeting someone or something from a past life that is Jupiter. It's abundant, so some kind of like karmic positive payback. Really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and her Mars on Chiron. Oh wait, I'm tripping. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That's transit Mars.
Her progressed, we have Mercury, Venus, North Node, Vertex, and Sag. So that's really, really good for traveling.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. Venus with North Node, or yeah, Venus on. Whoa, that's huge. Yeah,
yeah,
Venus on your North Node, on your natal North Node, which is in Sag already. So your North Node's being activated, and wait, no, it's not. Yeah, so yeah, that's huge. Progress Venus on natal North Node. You're really gonna want to, Venus and Sag people natally love traveling so much, so you're gonna be really ready for it.
absolutely.
And then because the progressed sun moves 1 degree per year, so it will be on your Venus in 2024. So we'll get to Pluto. It'd be in 4 years, like towards the end of the decade, but you'll still feel it. But yeah, so that makes 2024 very much lots of stuff about love. So maybe you could meet someone in 2024. I'm not really sure. Um, it's not necessarily what that means, but I think creating art, creating beauty, you're just going to feel very in your feminine next year. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just check. Pluto squaring your Mercury by transit 2025. That's not really related to travel. That can just create um Pluto with Mercury can just there can yeah, it just can make one have to overcome like dark themes and like kind of internal themes. So just like overcoming any kind of like self messaging that's it can make like more I call it intellectual shadow work, right? Like overcoming self-limiting beliefs or just ways of talking, stuff like that. Ways of thinking about yourself and the world. But it can be really good for the esoteric, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. And the last thing I see is North Node transit. North Node will be on your moon at that point. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll feel very connected to you'll feel very like what you're doing that year will be very connected to your like your destiny. You're gonna feel very, very like, okay, it's gonna be very karmic in terms of the direction you're going, and it's gonna be linked to your emotional depths and what you really, really want. So I think that everything kind of is aligning, interesting for you really making a big move that year.
I agree too. I mean, it's and like I said, kind of moving back into like looking at the natal chart and how your chart's set up, you're really going to be fulfilling a lot of your like North Node in the ninth house. Like one thing Jesse told me about North Node in the ninth house, South Node in the third is just like leaving your immediate environment and finding so much fulfillment in that. Um, so that's the path.
Definitely, definitely. Well, how long have we been going? 2 hours, 10 minutes. Holy shit.
Yes, yes, yes.
You can thank Esme for everything. She's lost a
Thank
lot of weight in the last 2 weeks. Look how
you
skinny
so.
she got. Well, you never saw her fat, but she, because of me, look how good
Good
she looks.
job, babe. You look dashing.
She was so overweight like 2 weeks ago. She's a food addict. Chorus Mars. Hey, show your beautiful eyes.
Hi. Oh my goodness. As my soul.
Most talkative cat ever.
Love it.
All right.
Well, Evie, Sue, we'd like to thank you so much for supporting us by purchasing a reading. Jesse's trying to find himself lost in the
There it is.
in pixels. Um, thank you for supporting us. If you have any questions about anything within your reading, just reach out via email.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was lots of fun. And yeah, let us know. And yeah, good luck with everything. And I hope that this reading gives you lots of answers. Like I think whenever something happens like this with that long email, like we literally looked for it for a long time. I swear you sent the long, like you sent a long one because I remember reading it. But I was like, okay, usually what I do is I save, like when someone sends me an email like that, I save it for the reading. So I was looking everywhere. I was like, I remember there being a long email, but a lot of times what I've noticed when stuff like this happens, not to be cheesy, it's meant to happen because perhaps in that email there could have been something that we weren't supposed to know about, and we were supposed to just like tell you everything a priori, everything based on just for the most part the chart while still having like a good understanding of your situation, from that one email we did get to see. But yeah, thank you so much and happy full moon.
Happy full moon. Take care. Take it easy.
Ciao.